To address the issues facing Tennesseans today, from 10 News, this is Inside Tennessee.
Good morning, and thank you for watching Inside Tennessee. Your moderator, John North, your other moderator, John Becker, and we are here to talk about the upcoming election. Election day is Tuesday. We're going to bring in our panel. Don Bosch, who is a Democrat, runs his own law firm. Susan Richardson Williams is a Republican. She runs her own PR firm. Good to have both of you with us. We're going to run through a string of issues right now because this city council election is like no other we have seen in recent memory. Let's first talk about turnout. And John North, I want to talk to you first because you have the latest numbers on early vote, and they are producing some pretty amazing numbers.
They're numbers that stick out, John. So 4 years ago, which would have been the comparable period, turnout early was roughly 4,300. As of the 28th, which wrapped up this most latest early voting period, 10,677. So really good numbers, a lot of interest, according to those that pay attention to these things, in these races that's been generated because some of the heat.
We're going to talk about that heat and the politics behind it, but first let's get your reaction, Don and Susan, to that turnout number and some perspective. So 10,000 is roughly 10% of the 100,000 plus voters who could vote in this election. So right now, if you had 10 chairs out there, one is full. 9 are empty. So, yeah, we saw a big turnout, but putting it in perspective, there are a lot more people who could really determine this election. Susan, what does that turnout number say to you?
Well, there's no question that the races this year have had a lot more attention than they've had in the past. As you know, the Republican Party, Knox County, with the new county chairman, Daniel Herrera, had set his sights on making sure that we had candidates, that the party had candidates opposing each of the current city councilmen that are running. And there's been some controversy about that because these are have traditionally been nonpartisan races. And he and his candidates have made it very clear they're running as Republicans. Now, have we got more Republicans to turn out? I'd say so, but I'm going to also say that it's gotten more Democrats to the polls because it has been controversial. I think people have paid more attention to these races than they have in the past. So we'll know next week. But is it a good thing? Yeah, I think it is. If you've gotten people's attention, who governs matters. It does matter. Even at the city council level, it even particularly matters at the city council level. So all the controversy will probably die away, and we'll have had a greater turnout, and I think that's a good thing.
And Don, let's get your reaction to that because, as Susan said, turnout matters. Let's talk about what's at stake. We're talking about 5 of the 9 city council seats that are up right now. We have 5 incumbents and 5 challengers. And as Susan articulated, the Knox County GOP has said we're going to label these 5 challengers all Republicans and see if we can move a slate in. We've seen that kind of tactic before, really on the progressive or liberal side of things. Mm-hmm. Don, your take on how this one's shaping up turnout-wise?
Well, first of all, John, I like your analogy of 1 chair out of 10 is full. And then when we look at day of voting, I would not expect any more than a second chair to get full. So while it's an improvement in totals, we're really still only talking about 20% of the eligible city voters controlling really some of the most important offices in a person's day-to-day life. So go vote. 2, I find Mr. Herrera's tactics odd or certainly even distasteful at some level, but I commend his energy. It's been a very negative campaign. It's been very ugly. Some of these candidates have quite a bit of baggage that they put up, negative baggage. Social media is the devil, and they've been exposed. But what you have to remember, while Knox County does certainly trend red, the city trends heavy blue, and it always has, or certainly recently has. And so I have a feeling, just as Susan said, the Democrats got angry at the smear tactics that were employed by the local Republican Party. They came out to vote. I'm sure more Republicans came out, but at the end of the day, I don't think that we're going to see much success in the strategy that was employed by the local GOP in these city elections.
Don, let me push back just a little bit with this question and say, listen, for years, yes, this is a nonpartisan race, but we've known the people's politics who have been entering this race. You could say that about just about every person in those seats. What do you say to people who say, hey, let's just talk about it publicly instead of pretending like we don't know? What's your answer to that?
Well, the candidates historically have talked about it publicly, where their roots are. The few that haven't said, look, it's a nonpartisan race, I'm not going to disclose. And usually those people don't win. But, you know, India Kincannon, for example, made no bones that she was a Democrat. Madeline Rogero before her. Bill Haslam as mayor before them. So, you know, we can put an R or a D there, but in the city elections, you know, I think most people understand if they pay attention and they actually come out to vote where people's policies lie. And again, I think the smaller the office, the more local the office, less partisan politics matter. We want people that are effective, that are good. You know, Bill Haslam, I'm a Democrat. I thought Bill Haslam was a good mayor. Okay. I also certainly think that Madeline and India have been very good mayors as Democrats. But again, at the local level, I think people do know, and I think turning it into ugly partisanship races, really, it's just not healthy, and I just don't think it's good for our community. We're better than that.
It definitely has changed, John. I want to bring you in because we saw when Bill Haslam won as mayor against Madeline Rogero, he then put her on his staff. That was how bipartisan what Don is talking about happened just a few years ago.
Yeah, very much sort of a move that told the city and the leadership team, hey, I'm interested in as much bipartisan cooperation as I can get. I wanted to throw this out there. We talked to Chris Davis, the elections administrator, on Friday, and he said more people during the early voting session were coming up to poll workers at the early voting stations saying, who's the D and who's the R? So sort of like what we've been talking about, there is a lot more of this sort of awareness and interest in going partisan.
We're going to take a quick break on Inside Tennessee. We're going to be back and talk about some of the specific races and what we've heard in those when we come back with Don and Susan right after this.